What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, because you're awesome like that. And just a huge thank you for spending 20 minutes or so out of your day with the channel and being involved. It means the absolute world. It's totally awesome of you. Thank you, and let's get on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from NiceBlood7615. Am I the arsehole for telling my sister that being a gemologist doesn't make her a woman of STEM? Now, sorry, I'm an idiot. I didn't even know what STEM was when I first jumped into this story, but it means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I feel bad about this, but at the same time, grading diamonds doesn't shape up when our family includes doctors, inventors, professors, and a former NASA employee. My sister Queenie, not her real name, and I come from a STEM-heavy family. Almost everybody went into sciences. Name any branch and I can direct you to a parent, sibling, aunt, uncle, cousin, or grandparent who was involved in that field. Except Queenie. I hate to say this because she is intelligent, brilliant, and creative in so many ways, but she struggled with science and math in school. She is brilliant at art and English, so our parents encouraged her to go for an arts degree, where she would thrive instead of a science degree, where she would have floundered. And she graduated with honours. We just didn't realise that getting a job with an English degree would be hard. We were still proud of her when she got a job in the jewellery industry, but I think she always struggled with being the black sheep of the family and being the only one without a career in science. Especially last year, whenever anybody was talking about what their work was doing at Thanksgiving. Well, in the last year, Queenie enrolled in some courses and become a certified gemologist. I'm really proud of her for this. Her self-esteem has really improved since she got certified. And here's the part where maybe I should have kept my big mouth shut. We were having dinner at our folks' place the other night. Queenie and I were on the porch with beer and shooting the shit. She was gushing about her new work as a gemologist when she brought up how accomplished she feels and is comparable to everybody else in the family now as a woman in STEM. I respectfully disagreed with her on the woman of STEM part because gemology isn't really a science. Queenie's job now includes conducting quality control on her company's diamond stock in addition to selling the finished pieces. Her certification wasn't as involved or intense as what most of us went through, which included years of graduate school on top of internships and research expeditions. There's not much of a science on determining if a diamond is good enough to place in a brooch. Not when our cousins include doctors, nurses, researchers, chemists, and even an engineer for Tesla. Long story short, Queenie is now furious with me and refuses to even look at me anymore. My parents are also pissed at me, even though the extended family does not think that gemology isn't a true scientific field. Her job is selling finished, finely cut, overpriced minerals to clientele that believes in the De Beers lie. To me, gemology isn't really a legit scientific field. It's more akin to analysing properties in crystals and gemstones to determine if it can be sold for thousands of dollars. It's like our crazy astrologer aunt who sells natal cards as a side hustle. Am I the arsehole? Edit, can someone please explain how gemology is science? I just can't comprehend. Now, maybe it's just my uneducated self talking about this, so I'm probably stepping on a right minefield here, but I thought like it's to do with geology, which is to do with science of rocks and the way everything changes over time and all that kind of thing. Like geology is the word I'm looking for. So I thought gemology is a part of that. And I just done another quick Google at the same time, which said gemology is the science of dealing with natural and artificial gemstone materials. It is a geoscience and a branch of mineralogy. Some jewelers and many non-jewelers are academically trained gemologists and are qualified to identify and evaluate gems. So I'm just like, what? How can this person judge and be like that? So yes, she would be sort of a woman of STEM. And let's just take away like all the science and all the education out of this. And you'd still be the arsehole to me for treating your own sister like this. Someone who's really happy about their career, finally got to a place where they feel like they're part of their own goddamn family. And then you still kick them back down. How shitty is that? That's really shitty to me, but we'll move to the comments to see what they say. And we'll start with Narrow Map, who says, "You're the arsehole, such an arsehole. Gemology is a branch of geology. Geology is a science. Science is a STEM discipline. You went out of your way to remind your sister that she's an outsider, and you think her job is fake science. You know full well how left out she felt and how proud she is of her job and accomplishments, and deliberately made her feel like crap. Got to keep her in her place under your heel, right?" Goat Kibble says, "Goes to show that all the education and fancy degrees in the world can't polish a turd into a diamond of a human being, or even teach them basic manners. You're the arsehole." I love the not polish a turd analogy. Electronic Health 47 says, "You're the arsehole, Sheldon Cooper." So what is it to be in STEM? What is the definition for? Can you explain? Because quality management is a very important step in every field. PS, not a native writer here. Amanda Dean says, "You're the arsehole. Your sister is educated and employed in a field of science. She is a woman, therefore she is a woman in STEM. Additionally, you know she suffered from self-esteem issues, but finally felt as if she belonged and you took a big old dump on it. That makes you a double arsehole." And one more from need a username, who says, "So I found this general definition of gemology on several sites. Gemology is the science of studying, cutting, and valuing precious stones." Then says, "Science, The thing is, no matter what gemology is, you're the arsehole for being so snotty and shitty to your sister, who feels good about herself and her career. Why couldn't you let her feel good without having to, well, actually her? Your poor sister was probably made to feel less than for years because she wasn't in a STEM. You couldn't let her feel good about herself without stomping on her, could you?" Now, what do you guys make of this story? How would you react if you were sister? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll move on to another story. And our next story is coming from our own subreddit. It's the first story on our subreddit. If you haven't seen it yet, r/marknarrations, come share your own stories on there, create your own throwaway accounts, and get involved. This story is from JenBL26, called "Am I the Arsehole for Telling a Mother to Mind Her Own Damn Business in Front of Her Family?" And as always, I encourage you to share your stories on the relevant subreddits as well, because I'm sure they would love to see them. So a little backstory first. I'm a mother of 5 beautiful girls. 4 are teenagers ranging from 17-year-old to 13-year-old, and my youngest is 8. 2 of my teenagers have come out as bisexual in the last few years, and I couldn't be prouder of them for being who they are, especially since we live in a smaller, conservative community. My 8-year-old has been telling me for about a year now that she's a lesbian, and recently she got a girlfriend on Minecraft. Lol. I let her do her thing, and if that changes as she gets older, it's cool. If not, it's cool too. I just want my kids to be happy. Now onto the story. So my youngest are at a restaurant where they cook food in front of you, and us being a party of 2, they also seat a family of 4 with us. So as they're cooking, we're laughing and having a good time, when my daughter's phone goes off with a notification. She looks at it and says, "Oh, my girlfriend is on Minecraft and wants me to join her." I tell her not now as we're eating, and she can play with her when we get home. As kids do, she kind of whines about it but settles down after a bit. This is where our Karen comes in. She says to me, "I can't believe you let her talk like that." I said, "Excuse me?" She says, "Little kids can't be gay, you must be teaching her wrong, and she's around some bad influence at home." I kind of blew her off because so far my daughter hasn't noticed, and I don't want to make a scene or ruin our dinner. Karen then starts talking again. How does a little kid like that even know about that kind of thing? You need to take her to church or teach her about God. Then turning to her husband because clearly I'm still ignoring her. If our daughter was like that, we'd definitely be grounding her from all her toys and looking into sending her to church camp. By now, my daughter is catching on to the tone and looks up. Karen then turns to her and says, "Sweetie, who told you being gay is okay? God doesn't like gay people and would be disappointed. You don't want to disappoint God, do you?" At this point, my daughter is just staring at her, and I jump in, not holding my tongue anymore, and say fairly loudly, "Mind your own damn business. My kids can like or love whoever they want, and they're better people for how I raise them." I then get the attention of the waiter and tell him we'd like some to-go boxes and the check. She's just glaring at me as I pack our food and pay. So am I the arsehole for telling a mum to mind her own business in front of her family in a restaurant? Now, firstly, Jen, thank you for sharing your story. And it's one of those ones that reminds me of the level of crazy we used to face like in the entitled parent days. Whenever I see the name Karen anyway, it always gives me those flashbacks. But it's also one of the ones where, I see it quite often these days when I come into it and I just think, what the fuck? What goes through someone's head, especially the Karen in this situation, to think that they can talk to anyone's child in a restaurant? I know if you're being friendly and nice to them and talking politely, but think, you can say these kind of things to someone. I just don't know what goes through in their head. What clicks in their head to think that's an okay thing to say? What is she expecting child to do something? Oh, okay, if God thinks that way, maybe I should change my bloody mind. No. I mean, come on now. And I think you did pretty well. I mean, in some ways, I'm disappointed that you had to get up and get a check and a box to leave. In some ways, I thought, couldn't you just move to another table? Because it ruined your restaurant experience. But you done well not to totally blow up. I'd have told her to fuck off, to be quite honest. But hey, we all deal with things in different ways, and that's okay. Thank you so much, Jen. Let's check out some of the comments, because we do have some. One from Easy Celebration, who says, "You're a hero for standing up for your daughter. Thank you." Rylan Kinda Draw says, "Not the arsehole. Good for you for being supportive of your children and how they feel. The audacity of some people who think using religion as a weapon against other people is okay is concerning, especially against a young child." Zero Gashi says, "Not the arsehole one bit. Personally, I would use much more colourful language and stayed." Gems of God says, "Not the arsehole at all. Thank you for being this supportive. More people need parents like you." And finally, Jelly Rose the author says, "Not the arsehole. Gotta love some unsolicited advice from fundamentalists. Make sure you check on your daughter, because having someone just dump the 'God doesn't like you' can be jarring at a young age, especially when it's for just existing. I'd also explain that people like that exist, but they don't matter as much as our happiness and our safety. You're an amazing mother for letting your kids explore. Considering I got outed by my brother and my mum thinks being bisexual is more sinful than being gay or straight, this kind of stuff makes me happy." Now, what do you guys make of this story? What are your thoughts? I'm sure Jen and me would love to hear them. And if you'd like to get involved in the subreddit, head to r/marknarrations, share your stories there, but please read the rules at the very top before you do so. Thank you so much, and let's move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Asking the Arsehole 883. "Am I the arsehole for embarrassing my parents by making them apologise to my neighbours if they wanted to keep staying? My parents are pretty mad at me, so I'm not sure about this. I have a pretty good relationship with my neighbours. They sometimes ask if they can use my yard space if they're doing something. We don't have a fence that divides our yards, except for the pavement split down the middle between our properties. It's never been a problem since I'm not home usually, and they pick up after themselves. Earlier this week, they asked if they could use my yard to set up a water slide jumper for the kids because they were going to host a barbecue today. I said that was fine. My parents are staying here for a couple of weeks, and I told them what my neighbours would be doing since I was going to be working and out of the house today. Luckily, I was only gone a couple of hours. When I got home, I saw my neighbours trying to set up the jumper on their own front lawn instead, while all the tables were in the back. So I asked them what happened, if they changed their mind. They told me my parents came out the house when they come to the yard and told them to move their things because I'd changed my mind. I apologised to my neighbour, then told her they're free to set up this jumper on my side of the yard like we had agreed, but I was so angry at my parents. It wasn't like they were caught off guard because they were told this would happen. My mum's defence was she didn't know they were going to put a water slide. I told her they would, and didn't want to hear a bunch of kids running around outside. Knowing how my mum is, I'm sure she kicked up a huge fuss. My sister, who was there, told me she was threatening to call the cops if they didn't move their things. I was in a very bad mood. Made them both go to my neighbours and apologise. They didn't want to initially, but only did because I said they're not staying here unless they apologise, then leave the neighbours alone for the rest of the time they are here. My mum is angry because I humiliated them by treating them like little kids, and I had no right threatening to kick them out if they didn't. That's why they think I'm an arsehole for embarrassing them in front of the neighbour, after they had yelled at her. Now they won't speak to me. My sister agrees too. I was kind of an arsehole since I know my parents are too prideful about that kind of stuff, and the humiliation must have hit harder. I'm not sure if I was. Just in that moment, I was angry for starting unnecessary issues with my neighbours and disturbing our peace. They were still kind enough to offer food, but like I say, parents are upset by this. Am I the arsehole? Nope, your mum embarrassed herself in this situation. She knew what was going to happen and you were completely happy with it. So she went behind your back, went out, threatened to call the cops on your neighbours, so damaged that relationship in itself. And luckily it doesn't sound like it's damaged too much because they offered you food afterwards. And it's embarrassing for you more than anything because you said it's totally fine and they went behind your back and did this. And I know there could be potential issues with insurance and stuff like that. We've seen it many times. I don't know if that's just a US thing. I don't know if we have the same thing in the UK. If someone injures themselves in your backyard, could they be sued? I don't know. I really don't know that one. People can be sued for all sorts of shit these days, so probably, but simply to me in this one, it sounds like you have a great relationship with your neighbors, you know, a proper relationship with your neighbors, and they potentially damage that. So not the arsehole 100%. I'll be really angry as well. But Night Grimwood says, not the arsehole. Sounds like your parents are still trying to control your life. They need to act like adults instead of arseholes. Stoat King says, not the arsehole. My mum is angry because I humiliated them by treating them like a little kid. And then says she humiliated herself by acting in this way. She simply paid the obvious price for her own actions. Prideful plus totally in the wrong is not a happy cocktail. No Jellyfish says, not the arsehole. 1, you live on your own. It's not your parents' business what's happening in your yard. 2, you had agreed with your neighbours they can use your yard. 3, you had told your parents what would be happening. Parents are your guests, they cannot dictate what is happening around, and they should not go to their neighbours claiming it was you who had changed your mind. If they had concerns about safety, e.g. kid hurting themselves on your property using said water slide, they could have raised it in a different way. And Anonymous says, not the arsehole. If your mum is upset that she was scolded and forced to apologise like a child, tell her to stop acting like a spoilt child. Nobody's Perfect says, not the arsehole. Let me get this straight. Your parent, who are guests in your house, knowingly decided to not only be rude to your neighbours, threaten them with calling the police when they knew you had agreed to let your neighbours use your yard. And you think you could be the arsehole for making them apologise. You're not even close to one. And Amuki says, not the arsehole. Your house, your neighbours which you had an agreement with. If she feels like you were treating her like a kid, well, she kind of acted like one telling them you changed your mind, so I'd have done the same. And one more from Mental Out who says, not the arsehole. Your parents needed a reality check. Your sister's comment about them being prideful and feeling humiliated actually makes you even more in the right in my opinion. Now, what is your thoughts on today's collection of stories? What are your verdicts if you choose to share them? Never any pressure either. If you want to support the channel, there is many ways you can do that, either liking, subscribing, get involved in Twitter, joining our Discord, or you can support it through the YouTube membership by clicking that join button down below, or clicking the link in the description to join up with Patreon. It all massively helps out, but as always, never any pressure. If you're just here for a quick story, fair play to you. I'm all for it. Thank you so much for your love, support, and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.